Good morning and welcome to Indie Interactive, where we talk about making great music, connecting with your audience, and growing your business. My name is Bree Noble, and today we are going to talk about restoring our sanity in our inbox. Oh my goodness, let me tell you that my inbox used to be a complete disaster. It had way too many messages, I couldn't find anything. And, you know, I'm kind of made a little bit of a name for myself as someone who is organized, someone who sets goals, someone who helps other people do that. And so I had a little bit of shame around my inbox because my inbox was kind of a mess. And so I took some steps to fix that a few months ago, and I wanted to share those with all of you because I think they can really, really help. Plus, they kind of set the stage for something that we're doing next week that I want to let you guys know about. We are doing our Get More Done in Less Time and Grow Your Musician Business 5-day training next week. And I'm really excited about it because we did this last year and people absolutely loved it. They were, you know, setting goals and figuring out how to use their calendar and learning how to streamline everything and get focused and, you know, not have way too many ideas distracting them, not feeling overwhelmed, but actually having a plan. Starting out 2017 when we did it last year, and people have continued to go through this 90-day cycle of setting up goals by using this formula that I am teaching next week in this 5-day training. So just wanted to mention to you guys, if you haven't signed up for that yet, I will pop the link in there as soon as we're done with this training. Make sure that you sign up. If you haven't seen it around already, either in your email if you're on my list, or on Facebook, or in my Facebook group. I've been posting it everywhere because I just think it's pretty much the most valuable training that I do all year for free. So I want to make sure that those of you that could really use it show up for it. So I'm going to jump right into our training today. I just first wanted to say hi to Debbie and Avelia. Thanks for showing up right away. I know it sometimes takes people a little bit longer to show up, but this is my last Indie Interactive for this year. I've got a lot of things going on next week with the 5-day training. I'm going to be live every single day for those of you that are in the training. And then I've got a bunch of performances. In fact, I have a performance today. That's why I'm wearing my lovely Christmas sweater here that I just got. Ugly Christmas sweaters are awesome. And so I've got a lot of that Christmas stuff going on, and I know you guys do too. So I don't want to expect that everyone's going to show up live every Wednesday through Christmas. So I will be back on Indie Interactive back in January. January 10th, I believe, will be our first one. But for now, I just wanted to leave you with something that I think will really help you going into the new year. So your inbox. And I'm going to give you a lot of steps that you can take, and this is going to take a little bit of a time, but I want to encourage you that this is the time of year that you can get that kind of thing done. Because you're maybe not, you know, once you get done with all your holiday gigs, then maybe you go into this season of the last 2 weeks of the month where it's kind of a dead time, like maybe you're baking and you're hanging out with family, but you have some downtime. And I know for me, I've used that in past years to like rebuild my website or do like I'm doing now, just organize my inbox. So I just think that this will be you know, a really useful time to do this. I'd love to know, for those of you that are here, do you feel like your inbox is overwhelming to you? Do you feel like, let's just say on a scale of 1 to 10, like how stressful is your inbox? When you open it, does it, maybe you just don't even want to open it because it's just so disorganized and you feel like you have so much mail that you haven't read or you need to archive or do something with and you don't know what to do, you don't even know how to start. So on a scale of 1 to 10, like what is your inbox, how does your inbox make you feel? Like 10 would be like, it's insane, I don't even want to open it kind of thing. So as I'm waiting for you guys to respond to that, I'm going to jump into, I think I've got a little cold. So I'm going to jump into like why is this important to organize our inbox? And number one is obviously we want to make sure we're getting important communications. And when our inbox is a mess, we can't find things. We don't even want to open it because we're overwhelmed, and so we don't. And so I just want to make sure that you guys are getting the information that you need to be getting all the time. Avelia says a 7. Yeah, that's a pretty, you know, good number, because that means you're not like to the point where you're not even opening it, but yet you feel like it could use some work. And I think that's where I was. I might have been at an 8. I was opening it, but I felt like I was losing things. So let's see. So I want to encourage you again that cleaning up your inbox is important, and you need to change the way you think about your inbox. I know that I was doing this. I was kind of using my inbox as a to-do list. And I know that's terrible because I use other things to manage what I do on a daily basis. You know, I love to use Asana, and I'll be talking a little bit about that next week and how I use that to, you know, just let me know what I need to do every day, recurring tasks, that kind of thing. But I was getting lazy because my inbox, I felt like, well, if I just leave things in my inbox, I'll see them and then I'll get them done. But what happens is other things come in and they get pushed down, and then we don't do the things, and then it gets longer because we don't want to delete anything because we're worried we're going to miss it to do. So I'm going to give you some strategies to deal with that, but just keep in mind your inbox is not a to-do list. It's not a place to keep your to-dos. Okay, next. I know you might have some fear of losing some things. If we go through your inbox and, you know, we apply some of my strategies here to get it done, you know, relatively quickly, you might be fearing that you're going to lose some things, and I get that. But we're going to employ strategies where 95% probably you will not lose anything important, because we can always store things for later. It's like when you're cleaning out your rooms and stuff, and you feel so overwhelmed by it, and you're so worried that you're going to lose something, but you don't have time to go through everything. A lot of times what people do is they just short-term rent a storage area and go put their stuff in that storage space, and then they know that they haven't lost anything. You know, I know this happens a lot when, like, maybe someone's, you know, parents die, or their parents go into, you know, assisted living or something, and they have to clean out their house, and they just don't have time to do all of it, right? But they take the bulk of things and they just move it into a storage area, and then they go through it bit by bit. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to make sure that you guys don't lose important things. We have the ability to archive these things, and you can still search for them to make sure that you didn't lose them. You know, put that fear out of your mind if you're worried about losing things when you go through this process. As people are showing up here, I just wanted to ask you guys, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about your inbox? Do you just feel like completely overwhelmed by it? Do you feel like it's an insane space? It's totally disorganized. So that would be a 10. And then, like, I'm guessing not many of you are at a 1 or a 2, because I don't even think I'm there, and I'm organized in many ways. So I would say mine's probably at a 3 now. But let me know. I just love to know where you guys are at as far as how disorganized you feel. And I wanted to say hi also to Matungi, who just showed up. And let's see who else is here. I think that is all it's showing me right now. So again, let me know how you feel about your inbox. Okay, so as I said, we're going to make sure that things don't get lost. So the first thing that you can do to help you with your inbox, and I'm going to kind of use Gmail as an example because that is what I use. And, you know, other email programs work in a similar way. So just kind of apply this to whatever email program you're using. But one thing you can do is you can add tabs. So Gmail has the primary tab, it has the social tab, and the promotions tab. And those are very useful. But if there's some other thing that you wanted to add as a tab that kept it in your main inbox, but you could then separate things out and drag things into there that belonged, that could be useful. You know, I thought, well, maybe I should create a Female Musician Academy tab or a students tab or something. So I knew that when I got emails from students, you know, those were important and they were separated out. So if you've got something, maybe you're organizing your email, personal and music, all in one box, and you just wanted to have a music tab, that might be a good way to handle that. So that's one thing you can do, is use tabs. Now, the first thing you're definitely going to want to do, if you haven't done this already, is maybe you're getting notifications from different social media channels. Maybe you're getting, every time that something happens on Facebook or you get a notification, it sends you an email, and that can just completely clog up your inbox. So first thing you're going to want to do is go delete all of those, and you can search, you can search for every email from Facebook, every email from Instagram or Twitter, and then just bulk delete all those, because you don't need those. They're duplicates. They're just telling you. And I think that a lot of us just sign up for that automatically because it has a checkbox there. At least it used to. I know my mom, she used to just get a notification about everything that happened on Facebook. And I'm like, no, you don't need to do that. Because if you're going into Facebook every day, you see those notifications. You don't need to duplicate it in your email. So if that's happening for you, go delete all of those, and then go to those social medias and just go make sure that you change that setting, so you're not getting tons of copies of the same stuff that you would get when you go in there, especially if it's somewhere that you go every day. I don't go to LinkedIn usually every day, most days. So I kind of keep those. If someone sent me, wanted to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'll keep those because I don't necessarily go there every day, but I do not have any Facebook notifications, Twitter, any of that coming to my inbox, because it would just mess it up. So again, if any of you guys, and I see that you guys are leaving some comments, awesome. I'm gonna go back and read those near the end and answer any questions that might come up as I'm going through this training. So first thing we deal with is social emails. Like I said, delete them all and go in and set those notifications so they don't come into your inbox. Okay, so in Gmail or maybe other email programs, we have what's called the promotions folder. And that usually contains newsletters and coupons and, digests and things that we get. So first thing you're going to want to do, and I want you to go look at maybe the last 2 months of emails. If you've just got like a slew of like the last 2 years of emails in there, don't pay attention to those older ones. Just go down to the last 2 months, kind of scroll through those and look for anything that you don't care about, you don't want to stay subscribed to, and just immediately go in and unsubscribe from those things. This process will take, like 10 minutes. You can unsubscribe pretty quickly. Just scroll to the bottom of that email, hit unsubscribe. It will give you a confirmation, and then you won't have to get those anymore. There are things that we get super interested in, and then, a few months later, we're not that interested in them anymore. And so I try to do that, on a regular basis. And if I see something come into my box on a daily basis that's like that, I immediately unsubscribe so it doesn't junk up my box with a lot of stuff. Okay, another thing that you can do is you can take those subscriptions that you want to keep, but maybe they're not timely. Maybe you're getting a digest of articles from Sonic Bids or CD Baby, or you're getting, allrecipes.com or something like that, sending you recipes, and none of those are timely. So for those, you can actually roll them all into one digest, and you can use something called unroll.me. And that will then send you one email with all of your digests in it for all the different things. And I would recommend doing this for things that are not timely. Don't do this for things that, you're going to miss something important. Maybe you're afraid someone's going to have a sale and you really want to get in on that. Or, there's information that's timely. For example, don't do this with my emails, because I send things that are timely. I send things that are like, oh, I have a training coming up in a few days, or I have a webinar, or, we've got this, cool free thing, or I want you to submit songs and there's a deadline, that kind of thing. Don't do this for emails that involve deadlines, or you really want to make sure to get in on something cool. But for other things where you just want to kind of keep up with and maybe read them every once in a while and be able to archive them and search for them at some point, then you can use unroll.me. Okay, so next we are going to set up some labels. And this is going to help you organize stuff. So, I get emails from a lot of different people that I want to keep up with what they're doing, and I follow, and learn from them and take courses from them and things. And I want to have a label for each of those people. You know, maybe I could be a label in your inbox when you receive my emails. So you could always go back and look and say, oh, didn't I remember she said something about, you know, on this podcast, she said something about X, Y, and Z, and I can't remember where it is. Well, you can just go right to my label and then search within there and be able to find it pretty quickly. And so I do this with all of mine. You know, if I take a course from somebody, I set up a label from them so I can always find it. If I learn a lot from somebody on a constant basis, or I follow their podcast, I set up a label for them. And so you're going to want to go through eventually and then move all these things into those people's labels once we're actually in the processing mode. So kind of look over your last 2 months of emails and say, okay, like I see a lot of emails from Bree, or I see a lot of emails from Steve Pal Freeman, or, you know, CD Baby or something, and I want to set up labels for those. So go set those up. So then when you organize, you're into the organization mode, you can easily just select all of those and put them in that label. So that is my next tip. Now, we're going to want to then go through the promotions folder and just probably the last 2 months, go through those and then put them into the labels that you want. So, you know, I, for example, get an email from allrecipes.com, and I may just kind of like glance real quick, oh, that recipe looks interesting. You know, I don't want to delete it, but I'm just going to put those into the recipes folder. So then if I feel like I really need a recipe, I can just go to the recipes folder and just look real quick, you know. Or if I'm following a certain kind of, maybe I'm following like a primal diet and I have some emails related to that. How come these are all related to food? Didn't mean that to happen. But, you know, then I can have all of the emails that are related to that. Maybe I follow somebody's podcast, or I, you know, get a newsletter from them. And I want to be able to go refer to those when I'm, you know, maybe looking for tips on how to, you know, substitute this for this or something. Then I'll know where to find them. So you're going to go through the last 2 months, and you can push it to 3 if you feel comfortable with that and it doesn't feel too overwhelming. And you're going to then organize the things that you have into these labels. And then we are going to archive everything older than that in your promotions folder, because the likelihood is it's some promotion that's past, it's something that's not relevant anymore, but maybe you want to keep it and you're not sure, then we're just going to archive it. We're not going to delete it. We're going to archive it, like I said, like putting it into a storage locker just in case you need something. You can go back and find it. You can always search. So you won't be stressed out. We're not deleting, we are archiving. And, you know, Gmail has 15 gigabytes of space that's free. So that hopefully your email is not so much that it takes up all of that. If it is, then you can go search for large things that have large files attached and just get rid of those that are taking up all the space. And you can always buy more, just like a store, you can buy more space if you need to. Okay, so then you're going to set up some functional labels that you're going to use on a daily basis. And this is my recommendation. You can do this in any way that you want, but this is what has worked for me. And just want to credit, like I got some of this from like Mike Vardy and Steve Dotto. There's some of the productivity people that I love to follow, and I learn a lot from them. So I kind of combined what they said and my own system. But what I do is then I have set up labels that I can use on a daily basis to be able to find things that I need and not have them sitting in my inbox. So what I have set up is a to read label, a follow up label, and a today label. Now, every day when I go into my email, about twice a day, I go in and I put everything that's there either into one of those labels or do a few other things with them, as I'll talk about in a minute. But the way I use those is the to read is like, I really want to read this. I don't want to just file it under the label of the person. I want to keep up with what's going on, or I know there's something timely in here. I want to read it, and I will read it when I sit down to read email all at once. The follow-up means like, I really need to follow up on this. It's not immediate, but probably in the next week, I need to get back to this person. or, you know, decide what I want to do with this. And then the third one is today. Like, I really need to do this today, but I want to get it out of the inbox because I don't want the inbox to be my holding place for a to-do list. So I move things according to those labels. You can set them up any way that you want, but those seem to work for me. And then I can go in and do that daily. Now, while we're clearing out the inbox right now, we can apply these same labels to the things that we have in there. So again, like in your main folder, go through the last 2 months worth of things and apply these labels to them. And then what you can also do, which is really cool that I use in Gmail, and I'm sure other services have this too, is if you go into the settings, there's a section called filters. And within the filters, you can tell your email client to do something with the message before it even hits your inbox. So what I do is I'm like, okay, I always want to read emails. Let's say I always want to read emails that come in from Steve Palfreeman. So I go to one of his emails, I grab his email address, and I go put it into this filters section. And I say, okay, I want you to, every time stuff comes in, I want you to search for this email address. And then when you find any email by this person, I want you to then put it immediately in my to read folder. And so then it doesn't even hit my inbox. I never even have to process it at all every day. I can just go and look in my to read folder every day and be like, cool, I got like 5 new emails that I really want to read. So my first tip to you is, of course, you want to go in and put my email address, bree@femmusician.com, and make sure that you set that to go into your to read folder. So you make sure to read my emails when you sit down to read every day, because they are timely. One thing things you can also do when you're setting up these filters is, like I said, you can tell it to skip the inbox and go straight to this folder. So you never have to process it. You just open up that to read folder every day. And I've gotten into this daily routine where, like, when I get up in the morning, I get my coffee and I sit in a chair with a blanket and I'm super comfortable, and I open up my to read folder. And guess what? Like, a bunch of new things have already arrived into my to read folder, and I've got stuff to read in the morning as I'm drinking my coffee. And sometimes I do this in the evening too, as I'm drinking my tea and hanging out by the fire. So I've actually made it into a really fun ritual for myself of, like, I can really enjoy reading emails, and, you know, made it kind of a part of my day. And I don't have to look in my inbox and be overwhelmed by it. I know I'm just looking at the stuff I know I want to read. So when you're setting up these filters, you can do things like skip the inbox, as I said, go straight to a label. You can forward it, automatically forward it to somewhere. Maybe you've got another email box for your music and you're getting these things in your personal box that you want to go there. So you just say automatically, always forward these to this other address. And another thing, as I said, is you can add a label. So if you skip the inbox, then you can add a label to it. And there's so many ways you can use this. Maybe you get bills in your inbox and you just want to have a label for all your bills. And you can just say, skip the inbox whenever anything comes in from Northland Cable. You know, always skip the inbox, go straight to my bills thing if it's a bill that's automatically paid. There's just so many ways that you can make this work for you in the background. Okay, so now there are 5 things that you're going to want to do to an email as it comes in. There are 5 possible things, and only 5, because this will make your life easier, right? You don't want to have to think about a million things you do with an email when it comes in. You can either reply or process it. You can delete it. You can archive it. You can delegate it, or you can defer. So let me explain those. So the first one is obvious. Like, if something comes in and it looks like I always say this, like, if it's going to take 2 minutes or less, just do it, right? Because it'll be just so much faster than deferring. So something comes in and, you know, for example, if somebody sets up an appointment on my calendar and I get a notification that there's an appointment, all I need to do is add it to my Google Calendar. I'll just go in, click the button, add it to my calendar, it's done in 20 seconds, and I can archive that email. Maybe, you know, someone asked me a question, it's a super short question, I can answer them really fast, then I go ahead and answer them if I can do it in less than 2 minutes, and then I archive that or put it under whatever label it needs to go under, and that thing is done. So that's the first thing you can do. Either you're replying or you're doing something with it. Maybe you just need to add it to your task list on Asana or wherever you keep your to-do list. You know, you can do that pretty quickly and then archive the email so you've got it somewhere else to make sure that you do the thing and it's not sitting in your inbox. Okay, second thing you can do is delete, right? But I want to encourage you, like if you're deleting something, then why are you getting it in the first place? You should either think about, you know, either I want this automatically to skip the inbox and go to a label all the time, I just want it for reference, or I don't even want to be on this list, I need to unsubscribe. So if you're deleting, then think hard about why you're deleting it and whether you can do something to save your time deleting it in the future. Okay, third thing is archive. So, you know, sometimes there's just something that's like a notification. You know, I get a thing that says like, oh, you know, 3 people have, you know, joined your ManyChat list today, right? I want to keep up with that, but I don't want to save it in my inbox. So I just look at it, go, cool, 3 people joined, that's awesome, I'm glad more people are joining, and it just kind of keeps me up to date. Or, you know, emails that say like, you know, you've added 50 people to your Facebook page this week. You know, it gives me those stats. Cool, I want to know that, but then I just want to archive it because I don't, it's just a piece of information. So that's an example of something that you can just quickly look at it, go, yep, and then archive it. And then you can always find it later if you need to. Okay, and then the next one is delegate. So if you have anyone on your team that's helping you in any way, and there's a way that you can delegate this thing, then just do that. Like, don't let it sit in your inbox. Just immediately forward it to that person. You know, put it into Asana or wherever that you're communicating. You know, with my one assistant, we communicate over Trello, so I'll just immediately put it in there. Okay, I need her to do this thing. I'll put it into a card in Trello and it's tag her, it's done. It's out of my hands. So if you've got things like that, maybe you've got band members that are handling certain parts of what you do and you need to just send it over to them, say, hey, this has to do with marketing, that's your department, you know, and then it's off of your plate, and then you just archive it. You know, maybe you have a label for your band where you're keeping that stuff. So that's one of the 5 things we can do. And then the fifth thing we can do is defer, and that's where I was talking about those boxes that I created, those labels, the to read, follow up, and today. So you need to decide, I'm going to defer this. I'm not going to reply to it right now because it's going to take more than 2 minutes, or maybe I need to think about it a little bit before I reply. Then that would go, if it's urgent, it would go in the today box. If it's not urgent, but it needs to be done within the next week, it'd be in the follow-up box. And if it doesn't require a reply, you just want to read it, then it's a to read. So that's kind of the system that I've devised, and I'd love to hear your guys' comments on what you think about this, if you think it could work for you, and if you've done any things similar to this. And while I'm looking at your comments, I want to say hi to Vina and Victoria, and let's see who else joined since I looked in here last. And I'm going to kind of scroll through you guys' comments. Wow, awesome, great comments here. And hi to Elaine. So let's see if I can respond to some of your, oh, and hello to Christina, just joined, awesome. Let's see. Just trying to read through these comments real quick to see if I can answer any questions. Let's see. So, oh, the psychological effects. Yes. Psychological effects of any kind of overwhelming clutter, whether it's physical or digital, because I feel the same way when I open my inbox and it's a mess and there's just way too many, you know, either unread messages or undealt with messages in my box. I feel the same way as I do when I walk into a room and it looks like a cyclone hit it, you know, or I can't find anything when I'm trying to look for something, or my desk has papers all over it. It's the same kind of psychological thing, and it keeps you stuck. Like I said, we can get to the point where we don't even want to open our inbox because the idea of it stresses us out, and I don't want you guys to get there. Let's see. Oh, okay, great, Avelia. I'm so glad you were able to stop in. Hi, Sue. How you doing? Links to the various tools. Yes, I can go back and add those in. One of them, and I'll put it in here right now, I think that I mentioned was unroll.me. That's what you can use to roll up your subscriptions into kind of one newsletter thing. And like I said, only do that for things that aren't timely. Things that are like, oh, I get recipes every week, or, you know, I get an update from Sonic Bids about their new articles or something. Things like that, they're not timely. That's perfect for unroll.me. You still want to have the emails, but you don't want to have to process them all the time. And again, like even that unroll.me email could go into your to read, and then you could read it when you want. Oh, good. So Matungi says that clearing digital clutter is high on her agenda. Good. 7 out of 10. Awesome. So I was suggesting earlier, if you guys weren't here, that this is a great time of year to do this, because for me, like the week after Christmas, and maybe even the few days before, if I'm organized and not like scrambling for Christmas, is a really dead time. Like I'm not really doing much business then. You know, for you guys, you're probably not really performing the week after Christmas unless you're doing a New Year's Eve kind of thing. And you're just kind of hanging out with family, and you're, you know, cleaning up after Christmas, and it's just a little bit like of downtime. And it's been a great time for me to catch up on administrative tasks like this and get organized for the next year. You know, in a previous year, I completely revamped my website during this time. Other times I've completely reorganized my filing system, you know. Let's see. Archiving it and deleting it slowly. Yes. And I think something I forgot to mention was, and I think I did mention this, but go back and, you know, like I said, go through the last 2 months and be more meticulous with those, and maybe 3 months if you're brave. But anything before that, just like bulk archive it. Just, you know, select all, throw it all into archive. And then you can go back through it later if you want to. You may find that you just don't need any of those. You know, it may just come up that like all of a sudden you need something, and you can go back and look, but you may find that you don't miss them. You know, I know that's happened to me before with computers, where I was so stressed out about losing files, and then I switched over to a new computer, and for whatever reason, some of them could not get transferred over. And, you know, I was kind of stressed out about it, but later on I was like, you know, maybe I really didn't even need those. You know, most of the stuff I have is online anyway. So you may find that you don't need those. Let's see if I can see any. Oh, yeah. So she says she's never really associated overwhelm and brain freeze with clutter in my digital space. Yeah, it really can. It really can do that to you. And I know it's true about physical clutter too. Good. So getting a lot of great comments along here about how, you know, these artists know that this is going to help them. So you can, you know, as I've mentioned before, like you can always go back and watch this video. It will be a podcast at femmusician.com tomorrow. So you can go back and listen to this again, and, you know, we'll have detailed out some of the steps, so you don't have to go back and listen through it to get all the steps on how to make this happen. But I did this. I reorganized my inbox probably 3 months ago, sometime in September, maybe almost only 2 months ago. And it has made the biggest difference. But the important thing is, once you go through all of this, you have to make it a daily habit. You have to go every day, probably twice a day, and just quickly go through your inbox and make sure that you move all these things to the right places. And if you notice that you maybe have some filters missing, like you have an email that's coming always from this person and you haven't set up a filter for it, but you always want it to go to read, then go ahead and take that 30 seconds and set up that filter, and that will save you 30 seconds every day of having to look at that email and then moving it. So it's just being disciplined with setting up the tools that will help you. I want to say hi to Jennifer and Marie and Brenda. It's so great to have you guys here. Good. I'm glad. I'm getting some really good feedback about this, and I really hope you guys. Oh, Caitlin's here. Awesome. My assistant Caitlin's here. It's just so important for you to get a handle on this, because it will just make, email is not going away. We are going to continue to deal with email. We do a lot of important things personally and for music through email, and so we don't want to feel like our email inbox is somewhere that makes us feel insane and we don't even want to set foot in there again. So just definitely go back and listen to this and make sure that that you take some of these or all of these suggestions and create a system that works for you. And that is really, what my training next week is all about, creating a system that works for you. And I wanted to give you this before that training to get your inbox set up so you have gotten some of that overwhelm out of the way, so you can focus your brain on what we're talking about next week, which is all about setting 90-day goals, determining what you really want to focus on for the next 90 days starting in January, why you want to focus on those things, how you can deal with new ideas that come in and keep yourself from overwhelm, how you can set up habits that help you every day to stay focused and not to get distracted from the goals that you've created, and then setting up a time management system for yourself to make sure that you actually get these things done and achieve the goals in the time that you set forth. So that is going to be our training next week. It's called Get More Done in Less Time and Grow Your Musician Business. And if you haven't signed up for it yet, be sure to sign up. I'm going to place the link in here as soon as we're done. You should have also seen it in your email if you're on my list, or on Facebook if you're in my group. Just look out for the Get More Done in Less Time. It's like my theme this year is like an entire wall of sticky notes. So if you see the huge wall of sticky notes picture, that is the Get More Done in Less Time. And just click on that and sign up, and you'll get your first assignment Monday morning. We'll be doing 5 days of assignments. They're really easy. They're not overwhelming. I would never overwhelm you in a training where we're talking about getting rid of overwhelm. And I'll be going live every day to talk more in depth about the subject that we're discussing and helping you. And we have a private Facebook group where I'll help you directly in the group to better hone down your goals and all that. So be sure you sign up. I'm going to post that link as soon as we're done, and I will see you guys in the 5-day training next week, and I'll see you again on Indie Interactive in 2018. I can't believe it. So until then, have a great day. Continue to make great music, connect with your audience, and grow your business.